Forgetting my mic. We'll get 6:30, so we'll open the meeting. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Thank you for attending this hybrid meeting of Chorley Liaison on Wednesday the 19th of October 2022. For those who don't know me, I'm Councillor Gordon France and I'm the chair of this committee, and Councillor Kim Smith is the vice chair. Also present in the Town Hall are officers Jennifer Mullen and Coral Asprey. This is an hybrid meeting with members present in the council chamber and on Microsoft Teams. If you're in the council chamber and wish to speak, please indicate, and once I have brought you in, you will need to activate your microphone, as I didn't, by pressing the button under your name. For those of you on Teams, please remain muted. If you wish to speak, use the raise hand function. I will then bring you in at an appropriate time. This meeting is also being live streamed on YouTube. We're not expecting a fire alarm, but obviously the way to leave the building is the way we came in. And the other thing is, if for any reason IT fails, I will adjourn the meeting for a short time to try and remedy the situation. If not, then we just have to adjourn and make another meeting date. Right. So, apologies, Coral.
Yes, Chair, we've had apologies from councillors A.D. Riggett, Aaron Beaver and Danny G, and from Parish Councillor Katrina Reid from Exton.
Thank you. Right, I've done the welcome bit, really. Okay, minutes of the meeting on the 20th of July, please. Coral, has everybody seen them? Anybody aware of anything that's... Any problems or anything anybody would like to raise? No, thank you. Right, with an introduction and update from Lancashire Constabulary, welcome, and Mike Moyes is going to take that. Okay, fire away, Mike, and don't do what I did.
Testing. First of all, thanks for inviting me. It was yourself, Coral, wasn't it? I approached initially, and Chorley Council made me aware of this meeting. And the reason I asked if we'd be welcome to attend is I thought it was a nice opportunity really to perhaps put a face to the name, and just to sort of open some lines of communication and make ourselves a bit more accessible to the councillors that cover our area. So as soon as I heard there was a meeting where you all attend, I thought it's an ideal opportunity to just introduce ourselves. I understand moving forwards, obviously a lot of the matters you may discuss may not be police matters, but I thought if me or one of the sergeants is to attend moving forwards, if there is any matters you want to bring to police attention or anything you want an update on, you can always ask us whilst we're sat here, if that's okay.
Would it help if everybody introduce themselves?
Yeah, so my name's obviously Mike Moyes. I'm the Geographic Inspector across the road. I'm responsible for the neighbourhood teams and task force for South Ribble and Chorley. I was a sergeant here for many years. I've recently come back as the inspector about 6 months ago. Lena?
Hello, I'm Lena and I cover Buckshaw and Exton. I'm a CBM, so I'm the Community Beat Manager, and I'm a PC.
My name's Scott Robinson, quite new on this patch, new PCSO, but my main area is going to be the town centre.
We introduce ourselves. Do you want to start, Alistair?
Alistair Bradley, leader of Chorley Council and councillor for South East and Heath Charnock.
Alan Cornwell from Charnock Richard. Councillor, yeah.
Ian Horsfield, councillor from Anderton Parish Council.
John McAndrew from Astley Village Parish Council.
Graham Ashworth, councillor, Heath Charnock Parish Council.
Louise Parkin, Anglesark Parish.
Sorry, Deborah Platt, I'm Exton Borough Councillor, but I'm also work for the Parish Council.
Alan Platt, Chorley Borough Council of Croston Moors in Exton South Ward.
This is especially for Alan Platt, Terry Dickinson, Wealdon Parish Council, and a Liverpool supporter.
I'll check my car radio when I go home.
Please to hear they haven't taken it.
Colin Evans, Parish Councillor, Whitley Woods.
Julia Berry, I'm a Borough Councillor for Coppell, a County Councillor for Chorley South, which incorporates Coppell and Chorley South West, and I'm Mayor of Chorley.
I think we've introduced ourselves on the top table, haven't we? Do you want me? I'm Gordon France, councillor for Chorley North East. I'm chair.
Kim Snape, Adlington and Anderton Ward, Chorley Borough Councillor and County Councillor for Chorley Were Released. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Mullin. I'm Director of Communities.
Coral Asprey, Democratic Member Services Officer.
Over to you now, Mike. All right, that's the thought. Do you want to introduce yourself on Teams? Hi, Bev. Do you want to go first?
Hi, I'm Bev Spears. I'm from Adlington Town Council and I'm the Mayor at Adlington.
Tim, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm Tim Blackburn. I'm Chair of Anderton Parish Council.
Christine?
Hello, I'm here as clerk to Heath Charnock Parish Council, but I am also clerk to Adlington Town Council. Thank you.
And Barbara?
I'm Barbara Farben. I'm representing Bretherton Parish Council. I'm a parish councillor.
Thank you. I think we're done with that, Mike.
Well, first of all, again, thanks for inviting me. What I won't do is take up a big chunk of your meeting. We'll deliver our bit at the beginning. If there's any questions, we can take that away, and then we'll leave you to it, because I'm conscious that it's a very late meeting. I don't want to make anybody late. I also don't want to hijack your meeting and turn this into a police meeting, because it isn't. It's more of a introduction to myself, tell you a little bit about our team, and then moving forwards, it could be a bit of an entry point to my team if you've got anything you want to raise with us, or any concerns, and make ourselves that little bit more accessible. Just to give you a very brief overview, I've currently got 2 sergeants, Neil McLaughlin, who has the town centre, sort of the inner sort of 3 areas, and then my rural beats for Chorley are covered by Ollie Timperley, who's just come to us from Armed Response across the road there. I know this is a Chorley meeting, but on the South Ribble side, I've got Angela Axton and Dave Byrne, it's the same model, but for Leyland and South Ribble, if you will. So I have responsibility for both of those. I also have a task force, which are a bit of a point and shoot resource. So if anybody needs locking up, civil orders, all those kind of things, I've got a team that are dedicated to doing some real damage to our highest risk areas. And that can be your domestic violence offenders. It could be a persistent issue the council are having with a property, and we're going to assist them with that. It could be pretty much anything. I'm a point and shoot resource for that. I've got quite a healthy contingent of PCSOs both sides. I'm currently running with 13 across the road. Scott being one of our newest members, which is why I've dragged him here to say hello today. Just to give you a quick rundown of our current priorities, it goes without saying antisocial behaviour is right up on the agenda, and any of you that watch the news know that there was a very uncharitable, shall we say, BBC news article a few weeks ago regarding some stuff on Astley Park. That's not really very accurate, but it's not really dissuaded us from the work we're already doing around antisocial behaviour. So to address that, we've got Operation Mercatus running on Chorley Town Centre. I'm not going to take up all your time talking about that, because I could talk to you for a good 40 minutes of your meeting about all the initiatives that we've got running in partnership with Chorley Council and other various partners and agencies on the town centre. And outside of the town centre, we have Operation Sweeper, which is, again, it's a bit of a bespoke antisocial behaviour operational plan. That when we get spikes in antisocial behaviour, like Lena used it, didn't you, a few months ago on Buckshaw Village, you may see some activity on there again in the short future. And when we get these spikes, it's a bit of a wraparound operational order that we can do, again, with partner agencies, to just quickly mobilise and drop on top of certain problems. Particularly in the Buckshaw Village tab, we've got a lot of organised crime issues in Leyland and the Broadfield estate. And what we've found is, because of the activity on there, it's pushed some of the antisocial behaviour over the border into Chorley, into the Buckshaw Village area. So these are all the sort of things that we're looking at, but antisocial behaviour is right up there as our top priority at the moment. And nothing's off the table, from civil orders, just all sorts. Scott, to my right here, is one of the dedicated town centre PCSOs, and him, along with Nicola and various other team members, every day will be doing dedicated foot patrol on Chorley town centre. Now, I know you've all got your own respective parishes and areas, but I think one thing we can all agree on is that, as a resident myself, whenever you're going to do your shopping or you're going to go out to do something, people who live on all of our respective areas are in this town centre. So it's really important that we get it right. But equally, we've got those resources and tactics in place for the wider community. So it's about achieving both, if you will. The most significant things you've had happening over the last few weeks, we've got Stephen Gaskell up in Adlington. This is sort of in the public domain. It's known, so I can discuss it. Just for those of you that don't know, he's someone who's been terrorising his neighbours for probably about a decade. I'm pleased to say, and just for yourself as well, Councillor Bradley, we got him remanded back to prison today, as he was back in prison till the 14th of November. So that's an update that may be relevant to some of you. And just to let you know, we've obviously got the upcoming bonfire night, mischief night. We have got an enhanced police operation wrapped around those key dates, especially mischief night, where we've got overtimers coming in as well. And I'll be commanding that operation for both sides. We always get that antisocial behaviour spike. Just on the back of that as well, and I'm not trying to steal Councillor Bradley's thunder here, our community safety team, in partnership with Chorley Council, are doing Op Cauldron. And what that is, it's a community diversion operation. We've got some PCC funding for it as well. But we've got the likes of, what's his name? The JJ Effect. So it's John Joe Hyton's brother, Byron, comes in. And he's somebody that these kids that won't talk to the police or won't talk to anybody in this room, they'll absolutely talk to him, and he can quickly get them under the wing and start trying to tackle knife crime on a different level. So we've got all these initiatives taking place over that period. I'll cut it short at that point because, again, I could talk to you for hours, but I know it's not a police meeting, but I just wanted to introduce myself. And one thing I'm happy to do following this meeting, if Coral, if you're the right person to do this through, I will offer the email addresses for my sergeants to the group and just try and give you a little bit more accessibility to the police if you've got any community concerns, just so you're not having to trudge your way through the 101 system or report online, and give you a bit more direct access to the staff that are working on your respective areas, if that's okay, if everybody's happy with that.
I think that will be very useful, Mike. Thank you very much. So you're ready for questions, are you?
I think so. You did mention it's live streamed on YouTube, so I'm a bit worried.
That's anything to be worried about. Right. Okay, fire away. You got it, Alan, yeah.
Officer, I normally deal with Leyland. I've had a good working relationship with Leyland. Confidential information, I will tell you outside if you ask me, but I can't release it in here. But I've been asked requests from Leyland to work with Chorley, but I don't know the hours you work, you see. So that's what I wanted to ask Sherman, the hours you work at Chorley, Thank you.
So, just in brief, we have your neighbourhood teams that work from about 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm usually in at 7 because traffic's easier and I can get to the brewing up station at that time of morning. But we're usually in from 8 o'clock up till 10 o'clock at night, but if it's weekends, we're there till 2 o'clock in the morning. The response teams that work alongside us are obviously 24/7, and they've reopened Leyland Police Station as an operating base, so you've got police officers 24/7 there as well now around the clock.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Terry.
Thanks, Chair. At our parish council meeting every month, we were promised a police report. For the past 3 years, we've had no report. Is there any chance of rectifying that? Please.
Yeah, if possible after the meeting, Coral, would you mind linking us together via email? And there's, I apologise if you've been promised that over the last 3 years, and I think, not that I'm using it as an excuse, I think the pandemic hasn't helped with some of these things, has it? However, it's absolutely something we need to do, and that's why I've come to attend today, really, to try and bridge some of those gaps between us and the councillors. And the other side of this is about my team and understanding, you know, you've got a voice in our community, haven't you? And you're able to tell us stuff sometimes that our surveys don't. So it's about opening those lines. So a police report for your area is absolutely something that I can get one of my staff members to start doing for you.
Thank you.
Alistair.
Just a thought, and this is something you've done for the town team, Mike, is just maybe for members here and on those online and what have you, and also Carol can add it to the minutes, is how you report things. So what you report via 999, what you report via 101, and what you might do directly to individual officers. So give examples of what you would be doing in those different situations, i.e. what's the correct route. Because I think people get confused about how they report stuff.
Yeah, thanks for that. Essentially, and it goes without saying, if something's an emergency, there's, you know, that immediate risk to life and limb, it's 999. And as decent law-abiding people, some people don't do that, unfortunately. But the other route is to dial 101. If you've got that issue that you need to get through to the control room, I would suggest ringing 101. If you've got a concern in your community that's been raised and you want a piece of advice or you want to have that interaction, we have PCSOs and community beat managers like Lena who are aligned to your specific area. So what I would say is for those, you know, those more slow time, you need to hear from us within a day or two, enquiries, so to speak, or there's a constituent living on your area that wants that link. If after this meeting, again, if Coral can sort of make some introductions via email, and if they can come into me, Coral, what I can do is find out where people are a representative for and link them to the correct officers on their team and actually start building some introductions because, and again, please forgive me if I'm wrong, I'm sure some in the room may know, but I imagine not all councillors know which PCSOs and which PCs cover their area. I know some may know that, but those are the kind of gaps that we need to fill. But yeah, emergencies 999. If you need to speak to the control room and get someone out within an hour or two, or speak to someone 101. If it can wait a day or two and there's no significant risk, just contact us via email. We should be able to get phone numbers for your respective officers as well for when they're on duty.
So, Chair, just to come back on that, sorry, before you, two things. Could you give a list of who covers which area geographically?
Yeah. And
secondly, something that Mike told me the other week, which I didn't know, is if residents want to report stuff anonymously, the best way of doing that is through Crime Stoppers. What we've previously done instead as councillors, we'll report it on their behalf. So, for example, and this came up because I had a resident who wanted to report something to do with drug dealing effectively, but didn't want to be named as the source for fear of retribution. So I anonymised it by sending that information on to the police via me, so that it's reported by myself, because I knew that information was correct. I think it mirrored some of your own information, didn't it? So, but what Mike did say was, if you go through the Crime Stoppers email or phone number, you can report things anonymously there, that the police will then act on. And that's a good route for residents who don't want to make a formal complaint about things. But obviously that may be open to abuse if people are reporting anonymously, if you know, with grievances and stuff like that.
And just further to that, any intelligence that we get through, we have to go through a process of anonymising it and grading it. If someone rings us through Crime Stoppers, they do that for us already, so we get that intelligence through a lot quicker. So Crime Stoppers, it's underestimated sometimes how effective it is. So when someone reports something through Crime Stoppers, we're usually getting it really, really quick. And like Alistair said, it can often corroborate something we already know.
Julia?
Thank you. Yeah,
Neil?
I think communication is key. You're right, quite right. We might know who the local bobbies are, but general public don't, and it's quite reassuring to know who they are. Unfortunately, like the web pages are not up to date. Got notice boards without your lovely pictures on or anything. You know, we've got the one out at police stations just completely blank. But we know we've got parish news boards where we could put them up, and particularly highlighting things like Crime Stoppers. And I just wish In the Know was also more readily available as far as I know that little cards exist, but they're not available. They need to be at hand for us as councillors and as parish councillors, particularly to go out and about in the community, letting people sign up to that service. It's quite passive, but it's there for when people need it, being reassured with being prompted about activity in the area is a really, really good and useful tool. I just wish we'd got more access to those cards. You know, we could perhaps put them in parish magazines and just get people signed up. And I'm really pleased they've got a local initiative in Coppell, got the PCSO attending in the library on Monday, just signing people up for In the Know. And it's that engagement which is going to work wonders, reassuring public. Thank you.
No, that's noted. We do have an engagement campaign at the moment, so we're really starting to push the In the Know sign-ups and the Lancashire Talking surveys. Lena's just helped me out by writing QR code down on a paper. We do have the cards with the QR codes on, so people can very, very quickly sign up. And just in case anybody in the room doesn't know what the In the Know is, as an example, if someone was to get burgled around the corner from your house tonight, what's better than in the morning seeing it on the notification on your phone or via email or the newsletter, and just keeping the public informed of what's going on in their immediate. So it's often, I want to know why the helicopter's waking me up at 3 o'clock in the morning. So what's better than being able to see that when you wake up in the morning? And it gives that two-way access, doesn't it, to report things into us. So you're absolutely right, and everything's on the table, including if anybody wanted to go out with the local PCSOs for a few hours and do some of that in the community, signing people up for In the Know. We're absolutely up for that moving forwards. But what I'll do is I'll speak to Amy Corns. She's our engagement officer. They're based up at Preston. But I will raise those because those are two things that I'm sick of seeing Mick Payne's face on the notice board on Buckshaw Village, because we've got Lena now and he's not worked there for about 7 years. So I do think there is still a place for notice boards and stuff, because not everybody in the community wants to look at the phone, do they? But seeing it on a notice board is something we probably need to get back on top of, to be honest.
Got Ian and then Colin. Go on, Ian.
Yeah, you're probably aware that a few years ago, in terms of community engagement, we used to have these regular packed meetings where we had representative from the police or PCSO coming to talk to a community gathering. I think it was bi-monthly. Is there any possibility or any thought about reintroducing packed meetings?
We didn't. We have looked at it before, but because, for example, I used to have, I think it was 12 or 14 CBMs that work this area. I've now got 6. Now, although we've got less resources, we try and do things a lot more targeted. So the In the Know system and the Lancashire Talking is designed to try and reach a wider community. So, for example, Lena can send something out and have that two-way conversation to over 1,500 people. And I think what we found was a lot of our packed meetings, certainly ones I used to attend as a sergeant years ago, it was the same people every month turning up. So I think we realised that we really struggled to commit to packed meetings. I will caveat though and say that if we have got a significant community concern that you're aware of and you think, you know, sort of an ad hoc, we could really do with a police meeting for this particular issue, that's something that I think we should be doing, to be quite honest with you. So although we can't commit to like a monthly pack meeting like we used to in the good old days, as I call them, I do think there's space for, if there's a need in a specific area, I don't see any reason we can't get the sergeant, the CBM and the PCSO in a room with local residents and arrange something for you.
Thank you. I've got Ian, I've got Bev, and Kim wants to ask a question. So, Colin, sorry. It's Colin.
Here we go. It worked. What's the police reaction to SPID signs? I'll tell you why. I've got a 20-mile-an-hour limit right throughout Whitley Woods. And the main road, Chorley Old Road, is a constant stream of 30s, 40s, 50s, even 60 mile an hour. and nobody recognises a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. One of the local people, who shall be nameless, said the 20-mile-an-hour limit is not enforceable. Now, if you have read the Chief Inspector of Constabulary, you will see that it is enforceable. And this guy just, well, I'm sorry, but I called him to his face a chocolate fire guard. Not nice, but I wasn't in the mood to be told it's not enforceable. What is the police general reaction to SPIDs? Is it nosy neighbours trying to force the issue?
I think there's an important point around the 20-mile-an-hour speed limits, because I am not being disrespectful to the general public, but I don't think the general public or a portion of take it seriously at all. But what they're missing is the fact that those 20-mile-an-hour speed limits, the way we have footfall from schools, the way we have pedestrian access where there is a risk to cars even doing 30 miles an hour. And as you know, the difference between 20 and 30 to a pedestrian is life and death, isn't it? So we did used to have, and again, I'm going back to pre-pandemic, we used to have the community road watch team out quite often in the areas that like you're describing there. And I know historically we've always run it, and you'll have to forgive me, road traffic isn't my stronger suit, I'll be really honest with you. But I know we've always run it as an educational thing, whereby we're not just looking for the 20s actually and speeding offences, we're looking for mobile phones, seat belts, everything. And if anybody's dropping into that really high speed category, we start to take some further action with those. I've got Sean Canning, who's our traffic management officer that's at Preston. So what I would say, if it's possible at all to get a bit more, get some context on an email to me, I can get in touch with Sean and get back to you on that one if that's all right. My team stance on the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit areas are, we do rely on the community road watch and the TAC Ops departments to sort of look at those issues when they're highlighted to us. But road safety is something we do take quite seriously. And again, I know it's not just about schools, but those 20-mile-an-hour speed limit areas are there for a reason. It's not just a money-making fad or something like that. But if you'd like to drop an email to, sorry, Coral, your email's gonna fill up after this meeting, thanks to me. I apologise for that. But if you can get that concern through to Coral and get the context on an email, I'll speak to Sean Canning and try and get something back to you if you wish. Okay.
Thank you. Over to you, Bev.
Hiya. It wasn't a question, it's more of a comment really. When I first joined the council, we used to have a PCSO that used to attend all our council meetings, and as your resources became tighter, he was unable to do that. But he used to give us an update for every monthly meeting, and then we stopped getting those as well. But it's not just about you reporting to us, it's some of the things that we could highlight back to you, and I'll just give you a couple of examples. I sweep the social media for our area just to see if there's anything we can put on our Adlington Town Council Facebook pages. And I would say every night there's 3 or 4 bank cards found in our village. Now, either our villagers are really clumsy or there's something happening in there, but there isn't a day goes past where there isn't somebody picking up bank cards in the street, and that just seems really strange to me. And the other thing is, last week I went to meet the Lancashire County Council youth workers, and they've set up, they started last week, and they're going to go and look at hotspot areas we've given them where the older teenagers are congregating. And there has been some antisocial behaviour, and some of them congregate together because they've nowhere else to go. And it was a really good meeting, and they started last Tuesday, and they're coming out every week to talk to them and try and build relationships up with them. But then I found out yesterday through Facebook, and then today from In the Know, that the police with Inspire are actually starting a youth group in one of our community centres, and we knew nothing about it. So it just seems that we're not getting that liaison that we really need for the community.
Yeah, and just in terms of Adlington, and again, there's been some activity on Lewis Close that we've probably not not shared directly with you either. But it's I was actually speaking to, I think it's Fern Jones is the PCSO for Adlington, but I'm trying to remember who it was before. I know you had Andy Ross, didn't you, as the PC. Ben Pillin.
It was, sorry, Ben Pillin when we first...
What's happened is Andy Ross has been replaced by Carl Exley, who's your new community beat manager. He's had a jolly down to watch a very long queue in London, and he's been on some other abstractions, but I have got him back now. So I know Fern set up the community event which we were referring to a moment ago. But again, Bev, this kind of is my point really. I sort of made a little bit earlier that, like you said, it's not just about us informing you, but you're the voices of your community as well, and you can tell us stuff that our systems are not telling us. But moving forwards again, and again, Coral, I make no apologies for this. Bev, if we can link you up via email to myself and Carl, we'll try and open those lines of communication, because absolutely you could have done to know about that from Fern, really. And again, that kind of stuff, it's moving forwards. That's why I'm here today, to try and open these lines of communication and get you those updates. So I take your point. It's about what you can tell us half of the time. And the other thing is, with our Lancashire Talking surveys, the communities in which you work are being surveyed by us, and they're telling us things which we perhaps need to be sharing with you as well, about what are their biggest issues that they're reporting to the police.
Great.
Over to you, Kim.
Just following on from the Adlington theme, I can't fault the PCSOs in Adlington, both Ben Pillin and Fern, and I know the action around Fairview Community Centre and the new youth club that's been set up. In fairness to Fern, it is on the back of an issue that the community have identified to her. But I think that just following on from what Bev said, I just don't think both Ben or Fern are very good at blowing their own trumpet, because they're doing some incredible work in Adlington, and I think she's got grant funding for pop-up nets and football stuff and all sorts, and I think it's been very much done on the QT and nobody really knows about it, so that's a positive. The second point, I just think, as I say, I can't just like constructive criticism. I think the PCSOs are incredible, but in terms of getting it, the things that are kind of out of the control of the PCSOs that particularly that we've had raised in Adlington, that need that kind of higher level of intervention, it's really hard work to get a response from. And I know I think we've had something like 7 or 8 CPMs over the last few years for Adlington, but almost everything, I'm having to write to Andrew Snowden's office to get a reply back from stuff that's over the head of the PCSO. And the PCSOs try the best, but in terms of the actual, like drug dealing and intelligence and getting feedback for residents and all that, there's just like, it's a brick wall in terms of the actual police officers for Adlington. I get what you're saying, because I know Ben had said he was struggling because his boss had been going here, there and everywhere, but it's not just recently, it's over the last few years, so thanks.
I mean, I'll take the blame for the last 6 months, but prior to that, not my fault. But you're absolutely right. And like I say, the good news is, and I won't take up any more of the meeting time with this, but you've had probably one of the highest risk problems in Adlington on Lewis Close. So I don't mind telling you, Carl Exley's spent in excess of 35 hours a week trying to remove someone from your community in Lewis Close. It's really, really up there. Unfortunately, the product of that then is that the PCSOs sometimes don't have all that. But again, we forget sometimes we've got a response team full of PCs that are there for the high-risk stuff. But I do take your point. I think we do need to get better in that communication. So again, by the end of this meeting, I think you will have Carl and you'll have Fern and Ben's email addresses, no doubt. But I've no qualms. If you want to drop me an email, and I could try and get some conversation going between Sergeant Timperley and yourself, just to try and improve those levels of communication moving forward.
Is there anybody else? Can you see anybody online, Kim?
No, I don't think so.
Thank you very much, Mike. I think we're all finished. And yes, if you'd like to leave, I mean, obviously I appreciate you're busy and for the people to look after, but thank you very much for your attendance.
No, you're very welcome. And like I say, what we'll do is, moving forward, if I'm not here, I'll get one of my sergeants to attend these meetings moving forward. But I know we all probably hate using email to communicate all the time. I'm sick of looking at Outlook, truth be told. But if moving forwards, like with Coral's assistance, we could try and get those email addresses out to you. Our details are on the Lancs website anyway, but it's about giving you a bit of a backbone, isn't it, to make us that little bit more accessible, because we're all trying to work to the same priorities, aren't we? So if that helps moving forwards, and again, subsequent meetings, we'll try and give it a lighter touch so we don't take 36 minutes out of your time. But I just thought as an introduction it was worth coming in and saying hello.
No, thank you very much. And we do get one or two issues raised to us as borough councillors. People come to us. I don't think they know exactly what we do. And there are things that obviously need to pass on to you, and I'm quite happy to do that as an email. It's probably a good route. Thank you.
And just an action for me as well is, as our list has asked for, what I'll do is I'll get an email out to Coral if you want to share it with everyone of which ones of my staff cover where and who the supervision are as well.
That'd be great. Thank you. Right, the next item I've got is active travel consultation. This is a consultation. The website address is on there, and the deadline, the consultation is open until the 20th of November. It's just basically active travel. The consultation is up until the 20th of November, and it will be useful for parish council to be made aware of this and submit their thoughts on active travel and cycling across the borough. So obviously that's there for you to make any comments. I don't know whether anybody wants to... Go on, Jennifer.
Yeah, it's, as you said, really, we're interested in people's thoughts on how they're getting to work, why they're not using active travel. Is there any blockers for people cycling or walking to work? If people do that, what are the good things? How would we look at improving those active travels around Chorley, and any day-to-day journeys or journeys of pleasure, if people want to support us in looking at those active areas that we can enhance. And that's it really. So yeah, as you say, consultation closed on the 20th of November. Everything's in the minutes, in the agenda. So if you either click on the link or copy the link and paste it, there's a survey there to fill in. It shouldn't take you too long.
Alan.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is the first I've seen this. I don't know if any of the other parish councils have seen this in any way, shape or form, but would it not be a good idea to email it to the clerks so that they can fire it out to the councillors rather than wait until a liaison meeting?
Okay, we can do that, yeah.
Anything else on active travel? I shall move on to the next item, which is an item brought by Adlington Town Council, and seeing Councillor Bev Spears is here. Do you want to do this one, Bev?
Yeah, it wasn't just about talking about the SPIDs. We haven't made a decision in Adlington. We had a town council meeting on Monday, and we haven't yet made a decision about whether we're going to employ the SPIDs in the area. And we have got a meeting with Heath Charnock and Anderton on the 27th of this month to look at some sort of joint approach. But one of the issues we've got is there's two specific areas where we would like the SPIDs. One's outside of school and one's on Railway Road, which is one of the busiest roads in Adlington, and it's got a lot of facilities that pour out onto Railway Road. but we can't have SPIDs there because the pavements are not suitable. So it was just about whether we could share any wider initiatives that the other parishes have taken. I've been reading up on this 20's Plenty initiative. So I just wondered if there's anything we can share right across the borough that's been successful in other areas.
Jennifer, do you want to reply to that?
Yes, we can do that. So the lead officer from the council is Bernie Hegarty. So he's looking at the projects in Adlington and surrounding area, Chorley South West area. But we can work with the public protection team and look and share ideas on SPIS devices and the use around the district.
That would be great.
Happy with that, Bev? You don't want to come back?
No, that would be great.
Thank you.
It's just, you know, we just need to, there are some issues and we need to address them, but it's about, you know, if we can find something that's been really successful, it will save us reinventing something.
Thank you. Barbara?
I'm not saying that ours has been totally successful, but we've had a SPID for a long time. Oh, I think you've all frozen.
You're okay. You're okay. We can hear you, Barbara.
We've had a SPID for some time. I'm not saying it's you know a perfect system, but it does give us a lot of data as a parish council. But although we know that there are some hotspots, we don't always use those spots. We move the device around the village, and we've got plates in various places where we can attach them in order to get a wide picture. And we do get some very good data from it. For example, we have every year the chap he used to be a parish councillor. He's not a parish councillor anymore, but he still carries on doing the SPID for us. And he always gives us an annual report, and sometimes more than an annual report. We sometimes have him a few times a year. And some of the data is just absolutely incredible when you actually look at it. You know, we've had examples of vehicles going along North Road at 100 miles an hour at 3:30 in the afternoon, which if you know North Road in Bretherton, you'll know how dangerous it is if they approach the junction with Carhouse Lane at 100 miles an hour. So I would say, you know, I could certainly ask John Piggott if he'd be willing to talk to you about the devices he has used and the way he's operated it over a long period of time. I can put you in touch if you want to.
Thank you, Barbara. I think Alistair wants to come in on that one.
Yeah, the wider issue really, Chair, and I know the comments that have been made so far. Two things, I think, here. I think we just heard from the police on the earlier question about speeding, that they are struggling to enforce speeding given the cuts they've had to their numbers previously. So they do a limited amount and it's across Lancashire. So we find it very difficult to get them into Chorley, Borough generally. We find it very difficult to get them to enforce generally because they've always got other demands, the racing round and lots of other things. So therefore, SPIDs are one of the ways that you can tackle it without actually prosecuting people. Ultimately, prosecution is the best way of doing it, in my view, because only police can prosecute people. So the next thing is SPIDs and advising people, and I think they do work very well in certain areas, and they also work when they move around and they're done in different ways, in different places at different times, because it sort of reminds you that you've crept over the limit, you're on downward, a slope or whatever it is, and you're picking up speed, which after a while you tend to get into habits, don't you, as a driver. So I think what we would be keen to do is to support it, as Jennifer said before, through the work Bernie's doing, to support certain parishes at the moment, and to maybe do more. We also need to press county council, because ultimately this is a county council highways issue that they are not doing, and they're not doing for the reason that they've had 12 years of cuts, basically. They've had a recent, not a cut, but they've had an increase in cost because all council employees have had a across-the-board wage increase because inflation's going through the roof. That's decimated their budget. Again, not being political, but that's meant that they've had to look at their priorities. We need to remind them that some of their priorities are around highway safety, and therefore I'm happy to do that. But I think what we can also look to do is to support communities doing things themselves. And I think some of that is enabling those spids to be erected. And Kim's done a lot of work with this before in your area around getting the plates put on and then enabling you to move those devices around. I don't know, did you all see the letter from Charlie Edwards about lampposts and hanging baskets and all that came out? That to me was quite encouraging, that if you get things in the programme, that would allow us to put plates on more lampposts and more infrastructure. And it was a revert. There are lots of U-turns going on at the moment, isn't there, generally, but that was a U-turn, of a welcome U-turn, let's put it that way. So I think we can do some work around that as well by liaising with the on behalf of parish councils, but it would be good to have your support to do that. So I'm looking at Jennifer now, and she's not looking at me because it means more work for her team, which is, we'll come to you and say this is what we think is the best thing to do. If we can speak for you, for us and the parish councils, I think that will carry a bit more weight, because particularly Conservative county councils listen to parish councils a lot more than listen to Labour borough councils. Isn't that right, Kim? At times, let's just put it that way. All right, because they want to keep you happy, they're not so bothered about us.
Thank you, Alistair. Deborah?
Yeah, just following on a little bit of information about one of the policies that Lancashire County Council brought out about SPIDs recently. They're revisiting that because within that policy, they basically claimed that once a SPID had been up for 6 months, it was no longer useful and it would have to be taken down for a period of time and then popped back up. So that made buying a permanent SPID, which was solar powered, a bit of a waste of money, really. They're revisiting that and they're going to change that. That will be updated very soon. So hopefully, in the future going forward, if you do buy what is a permanent fixed position SPID, which would probably be solar powered, you wouldn't have to be taking it down every 6 months for a few months and then popping it back up, which would cost a fortune. Just on the 20 mile an hour activity in villages, Exton, Astley Village and a couple of other villages got together a few years ago now and printed up a load of stickers, which was 20s plenty, and they were bin stickers. You could put them on the sides of the bin, so whenever the bins were out that day, albeit a very limited one day a week, it just reminded everybody that 20 is the normal speed around built up areas, and that's a really quite a cheap and effective project to get your villagers involved. If all they have to do is peel a sticker off and pop it on the bin, it's really easy to do.
Thank you, Deborah. Kim's just whispering in my ear saying you can request them from county.
And banners as well, apparently. Yeah.
Banners as well. Colin, and did you want to come in as well, Julia?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, after your 20 is plenty, that street lighting, I'm told, will not allow any more solar-powered SPIDs on lampposts. Now, don't ask me, don't shoot the messenger, that's what I've been told. And it's the battery-powered ones that are going to have to be changed every 3 months or whatever it is. But solar-powered, although you have to put them on their own posts, they can move the sign itself. You can leave the solar panel on it and just move the sign, leave a back plate on with the slow down, save lives, or plenty is 20 is plenty. Anything like that can be saved on those posts. Move the signs around wherever you want every 3 to 6 months, and the recommendation is 3 to 6 months, which I found was quite adequate, because I think I've quoted myself saying, if you leave it any longer, it becomes wallpaper. Yeah, and nobody takes any notice after that period of time. But after that time, you can move them around, and after a month of in limbo, and they become noticeable again.
Did you want to come back on that one, Deborah?
That policy with that wording is what they're going to update. So, yes, they don't want the solar panel ones on lampposts because by the time you've added a solar panel and a machine, it's too heavy for lampposts. They should be on a post of their own. So that will probably remain in. The fact that you have to move them after a few months is the bit that they might be changing and taking back out. Because albeit they might become wallpaper in some villages they're invaluable. When you've got a village that people pass through, for example, Exton, just as my example because I know it, Exton is a pass-through. It's a pass-through for Southport, it's a pass-through for Bretherton, it's a pass-through for Croston, Eccleston, Maudsley. Everywhere you want to go from the M61, you have to pass through Exton. So it's not wallpaper in Exton. You have masses of different big companies with enormous big Arctic trucks with, nurseries going through Exton. There's a quarry just about to come. It doesn't become wallpaper for villages like that. Now, some villages, yeah, I agree, it might become a little bit boring to your residents. Astor Village, for example, isn't really a pass-through, so most of the people you're catching on the spids are your own residents and basically embarrassing them into slowing down, which is good. But I think all spids are different in different areas. But that policy where you were just talking about those rules, that's the one that they're updating, and that'll be coming back out within a couple of months to make some villages feel the need for buying solar ones more valuable rather than that you have to take them down after a few months, which makes them a little bit redundant, really, because it's too expensive to have them taken down, put up, taken down, put up.
Thank you, Deborah. Julia?
I'm not so much going to touch on spids. I'm just exasperated that they've just disappeared off landscape, to be honest. I just think they're very, very useful and they're very good prompts, and I really don't take any of this nonsense about needing prompting. It's the same attitude county have got actually with signage campaigns, the slow down, save life campaign. They say people get complacent, they don't notice them. Probably don't notice them at all anyway, because there's so much clutter around on street furniture. But what we need to be aware of is the cheap and cheerful option is the stickers on bins, the 20's Plenty campaign that county are rolling out and pushing out, the big banners. Parish councils can ask for as many of those banners as they want. I just think I've got them up and around Coppell and they're very effective. But it's just not enough. We're the third worst area in the whole country, in Chorley and West Lancs, for child's road accidents, and they can be quite severe and obviously cause deaths. So it's nothing to be, nothing to might make some people actually lose sleep overnight because it's very, very worrying. We've not had tax op teams. I've not seen them anywhere in Chorley, and even reminding if people have seen them. We had a really successful summer last year when they were operating and they've taken so many dangerous cars and dangerous drivers off the roads, and we need to know when those are coming and need to be regularly in Chorley. I think quite a lot of districts are getting a poor deal. You need to badger the Deputy Crime Commissioner, who's tasked with reviewing the road safety strategy. He's very amenable to come out to the districts. He was in one part of Chorley this weekend. He's encouraging people not to do the police's job or the enforcement people's job, but to volunteer, to do speed testing. He'll equip you with training and guns or whatever to do speed monitoring. Yeah, well, that's fine. They're looking for volunteers. You've got an opportunity in November around social media and physically in the villages. We're doing something like Road Safety Week from the 14th to the 20th of November, which is a national campaign. So it should be out there in all your social media and plugging it in your parish magazines and newsletters. But it's not enough, and enough is enough as far as what we're putting up with. It's the number one antisocial aspect of living in like a cut-through place where you've got corridors of people speeding. It's a disgrace and it's causing a lot of anxiety. And can I just finish saying motorcyclists are some of the most responsible citizens in our communities, but you only need a few rogue ones that are menacingly travelling at speed on some of these corridors. You know, too fast for people to, you know, use this. We've got this option, very useful, Operation Snap, recording, you know, using your car cameras and your own iPhones or whatever to capture these disrespectful and dangerous characters, you know, unsavoury characters we want rid of really and to reduce, and penalties should be really, really harsh. We just need to talk it up. Can't wait for these spids to come back, and whilst they're not coming back, we just need to be very noisy about all this. So I'm really welcome. I'm really glad it's been put on the agenda.
Thank you, Julia. Yes, go on.
We do have spids in Astley Village, but we also occasionally have speed. And so I've not switched on. And one of the most annoying things to me is as soon as they're there, the Astley Village Mums and Dads, which is a big Facebook site, says, watch out, there's a speed camera there. Now, to me, that should be illegal, that you're actually warning people there's a camera there, because, you know, whose side are you on? Are you on the side of the idiot driver or the child who's trying to cross the road? But don't know what you can do about it.
Good point. Alistair and Deborah both want to come back on that, I think.
I'm not going to comment on that last one, really. I don't know. You lose both ways, but anyway. I agree with Andrew, though. John, sorry. I think there's a few things there that's come out. One is we need to get that banners and all the stuff from county. I don't know if everybody's aware of that and where to go for it, but that, I'm sure, can be publicised through the minutes of this meeting and through what we send out through the, whatever it's called, not in the know, the other one, in the borough, sorry, yeah, which I should know. I think there is a job, going back to what we can do, is pulling some of this information together for parish councils and for communities as to what's available. Going back to Julia's point, there's a lot of stuff going on out there. Is it Operation Edward that Mandy Pratt's leading on at the moment, which is about speeding, something or other, which I think you're referring to. So there's a lot of stuff that comes through. So I think we could pull that together, and also some of the stuff around the SPID devices that we've heard tonight and things changing and the rules changing and all that. So we've got like a best practice guide, which I'm sure Bernie will know inside out because he's living and breathing at the minute. So that's something we can do on behalf of parishes and keep publishing that once a year, once every 6 months, whatever you, keep it up to date, and that way there's a bit of an access to it. And like Julia said, there's lots of initiatives going on. I suspect we only know about half of them, and I presume you're making the same points at County Council, are you?
Sorry, yes, it's come to what was now called a scrutiny task group. I was leading on a deep dive task group looking into child safety, but actually, well, we focused on that, and it's absolutely shocking. The age range of people being injured on roads is between 40 and 60, so it's older population that are being harmed more by drivers. The thing is, I'd just like to emphasise that the active travel consultation, it's linked, you know, that consultation should be linked with road safety and what's going on in our villages. You know, we have a lot more cyclists riding on pavements now, which obviously make pedestrians unsafe because roads aren't safe. So there's a lot more investment needed in infrastructure. And the idea that you can, you know, which is wonderful, we teach children to ride bikes at school, and, you know, as parents and grandparents, we teach our kids to get, you know, independent on vehicles like bicycles, but would you let them go on the road at a young age? You just wouldn't. And that's the same argument when we talk about children walking to school. You know, the only reason, you know, it's just not safe. So what are we going to do about it? So, you know, I know we're councillors, but we should also be campaigning on this issue and need to feed that back into anything where it's asking you about active travel, because we're never going to achieve those targets if we don't make our pathways safe for all people and not just drivers.
Thank you, Julie. Deborah, did you want to come back on the same one?
Yeah, the free resources from Lancashire County Council was circulated to parishes, but I'll pick that email up and send it to Coral if Alistair wants to collate all these bits and bobs. And just on that bit about the Mumsnet, I think somebody should just pop it on every week, and then the speeding won't be so bad then, will it? It's problem solved.
Thank you, Deborah. Right, after that. Oh,
Chair,
Alan.
Just one final thing I missed out when I was talking before is, Mike Moyes said about talking to the guy who is traffic guy in Preston, because he'll cover a bigger area. I will get that traffic guy to a future meeting of this group. that might be worth doing, to have these straight out with him, to find out what their policies are and what their actual on-the-ground operations are, because what you might find by moaning a bit, and that's why we've got them all here tonight, is because Chorley's a bit under the focus at the minute because of events that have gone on, and lots of moaning over many months, Jennifer. We've finally got being listened to. It won't last them forever, but while we've got it, we'll keep the retention, and therefore we need to do the same, I think, with the traffic people.
I think that's a good point, Carol. Make a note of that and we'll try and do that. Yes, Alan.
Hopefully this will be the final one. I've saved it till the end. In defence of our Highways Authority, they've actually implemented an average speed camera system on the A581, which is going from Exton to Rufford. And that's actually in progress now. So that was after a bit of campaigning. So eventually things do get done, but obviously it's all a money thing.
It's only money and budgets at the end of the day, Alan. It is, it's always money and budgets at the end of the day. Right, after that we'll move on. I've got an item requested by Exton Parish Council, in information in relation to the Chorley Town Plan. Have we anybody, I know Deborah's the clerk, if you want to run on that, Deborah.
I think Chair was just looking for an update as when this information will be available, because I think it's been reworked.
Thank you, Deborah. Alistair, are you running on that one?
Unfortunately, Chair, I am. The Chorley Town Plan, do you mean by the Chorley Town Plan or do you mean the local plan?
Just read it out. Information in relation to Chorley Town Plan. So it's the Chorley Town Plan.
Right, okay. So,
I think she means
yeah, so I'm taking it's the local plan, which is it's not Chorley plan, you see, because it's a three-part plan. It's Chorley, South Ribble and Preston, so it's a central Lancashire joint plan. It's been tortuous, it's going on forever, we never seen the end of it. It was supposed to have been in place by now, but because of COVID, because of staffing, because of changes in all kinds of levelling up, Michael Gove announcements and what have you, it has changed and slowed down. We were hoping to have the final documents to a meeting last night of the three councils, which would then have got it out to consultation in December to the public. That is still the plan, but it didn't come to last night's meeting. It's probably going to come to, well, I think it'll probably be finished by the end of this week. So we didn't quite make the meeting last night, but that's not slowed it down. So at the moment, it's proposed that the preferred options is what they call it, which is the sites that are going to go forward for the 15-year plan, will go to council meetings in the first 2 weeks of December. And the different councils meet on different nights, so it'll be over the first 2 weeks of December. And that is still the plan, although it is very tight. So, but that's the current focus. There was a couple of bits of work that hadn't been done last night. They've been finished off. I've been advised today, which was about mapping and stuff, because that's being done by specialist GIS planners, mappers, sorry. But then the intention is for that to happen then, and that's as much as we can say at the minute. It will be consulted on internally by the individual councillors, because they'll have to be made aware of it before they go to the council meeting. But then once they're happy with it, it'll go out to public consultation, including parish councils. And we were updated last night that consultations will be done in every parish. That will include parish councils if they want to be part of it. It will also be done via in terms of being able to get access information. The plans will be put in all the local libraries and all council buildings as well, so it'll be accessible via those. Obviously accessible online, but also there's a lot of effort being put in not to just allow people to respond through that MySpace, Citizen Space, whatever it's called, but also in writing via commentaries and all the rest of it. So old-fashioned ways of consulting as well as the newfangled online versions of it. Although it's better if you do it online because it's easier for us to collate the responses quicker. But there is a lot of consultation to do. There'll also be consultations via schools, via workplaces, via everything we could possibly do. So there will be a briefing out to parish councils before that consultation happens. Was that helpful, Chair?
Deborah, did you want to come back?
Yeah, they're just, apart from, Alistair answered most of that, apart from how long will the public consultation section be in, like, weeks, months?
The consultation is due to run from something like the 20th of December. You'd like to know not till the 1st of January, till about the It's about the 3rd or 4th of February. So it's a 6-week period. It starts over Christmas, so people can look at it while they're off work, but also be another 4 or 5 weeks after Christmas to give people ample time because it spans the Christmas period.
Thank you, Alistair. Jennifer, do you want to add something? Sorry.
Just to add that the officers have offered to come to the next liaison meeting in January to go through the plans and the consultation, just to help assist in that.
Thank you, Jennifer. That'll be very useful. Have we finished with that? Any more questions?
Just another comment as well. Obviously, all the borough councillors, like I said, will be aware of it. So once they are made aware of it and it's in the pipeline in December, they can disseminate information as well to you. So if you keep in touch with your borough councillors, they'll have that information as well.
Thank you, Alistair. Item 7, which is questions from members of the liaison and the public. Has anybody any general questions? Put earlier so that if there's any technical questions, we can get the advice. But yeah, if anybody's got one, we'll have a go. Yeah, go on, Louise.
The high school places on future agenda, do you know when that's going to be covered? Is it just tasked for some point in the future?
High school places, we just have to put it on as an item, won't we, Jennifer?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah, we just have to put it on as an item, Louise. Can we make a note of that as possibly for January? Or have we got more on?
Yes, Chair. Well, we did have a discussion earlier. We was hoping to invite County Councillor Charlie Edwards to the January meeting. We do have quite a busy schedule coming up, but if it is something that is of particular interest, we can certainly look to get it on the agenda. We just need to have a discussion about when it's appropriate to put it on.
We'll put it on the agenda, certainly, Louise. Just for people in the room, County Councillor Charlie Edwards is the Cabinet Member for Highways. So I thought it was somebody that parish councillors would probably want to speak to. We've had Keith in the past when he did that role. Julia.
Yeah, just briefly, I just want to touch on school places in general. County Council are developing a dashboard just about school places, really. It's not going live until later on next year. I've had sight of it, but there is a lot of information. We get information about high school places twice a year, and the Children's, Family and Skills Scrutiny Committee can forward that information through to districts. That's the whole point. When we're discussing anything about schools now at county level, we're cascading information down to districts to really empower residents and councillors so they all know where we sit with any issues and problems we've got. So hopefully we can send you some stuff through fast.
Sure.
Thank you, Julia.
Just to agree with you.
Yes, Alice, just to
agree with you. We could cascade that information out as well because it comes to various parts of our council, because we were discussing it the week when we came. So it's not secret, I don't think, is it? No. So because it goes to that scrutiny and it goes, so we can cascade that information. I'm going to poor Carol, she's getting loads of work dumped on her here. But also going back to your next meeting, you're going to have a local plan and Charlie Edwards. If you do schools as well, you'll probably be here till midnight. Yeah, no, it might be worth doing the meeting after that, because you've still got time then to inform, because effectively the school places are set for this year. It's about setting it for next year, I think. And I don't think you'll have it fully formed from the county. When do they open their school place numbers, Julie? You might know better than me.
Well, it starts again, obviously, the assessment being done in the autumn. But this information, it's quite interesting. You could see, I'm just going to say how to share it really. It can come through now, and it's very representative of the situation we've got.
But I don't think it would do any. You wouldn't have any different benefit from having it either in January or maybe April time. I don't think, would you?
No, you're right. But there's an opportunity for a bit of joint collaboration. I mean, county host bite-sized briefings, and if parish councillors or district councillors want to get on that call, we can set that up.
But fundamentally, they're not putting enough places into Chorley, particularly secondary school places, are they? In our view, as a borough council, they put primary school places in, but the problem is more secondary schools at the moment, and therefore it's very difficult for them to increase secondary school places in Chorley because a lot of them already increased their class sizes in existing schools without either additional school, which there is no current plans for, despite us badgering for it. And also, if you look at the trend of population, school population coming, the bulge is currently coming through into secondary schools at the moment. The long-term numbers are reducing. So, and also, and I'm not making any secrets here, Julia, am I? The County C, Chorley and South Ribble schools being a collective, secondary schools. So if there's too much supply in South Ribble and not enough in Chorley, they're happy to decant pupils from Chorley into South Ribble. Unfortunately, pupils and their parents often don't want to do that. So we have long argued that there should be the adequate school places in Chorley for Chorley kids, as opposed to having to go into South Ribble, which quite often, for example, in Wealton and Withnell, could end up being going to Lostock Hall or Bamber Bridge or somewhere, which is really not a good linkage. So that's the kind of stuff that's in these reports that Julia's referring to. That can be disseminated. They go through the county council reports that we given access to as part of our planning function, because we have to be able to plan, because they want to know from us where we're building houses and all that. But also Julia's referring to it going through scrutiny at county council, whereby it's been made public to all councillors at county council to be looked at and reviewed. And we've had a couple of briefings, which I imagine you've had the same ones as we've had, from officers at county council that say this is our wider plan, which I don't think should be a secret. It should be out there in the public space. So we can do that almost now, I think. Sorry, Julie.
But I think there's an appetite for a better understanding about where we're at and circumstances and what the future looks like, particularly with speculative planning and developments coming through and policies changing left, right and centre at government level. It's very informative, and actually parents should be able to understand it too, or should have the opportunity to understand what's going on. We talk about choice all the time and options, but that landscape's changing. As Alistair points out, this greater acceptance at government at higher level that it's acceptable for journeys being made out of the districts. You know, it was alarming, the one application that's come through in Coppell. They think in Coppell that children can go to Wigan, you know, which is even out of our education authority, and we're getting less and less ability to influence education, whilst the government, you know, is just not straight on its policy plans on planning and education. There's no money for building schools. We're repairing schools, and we're putting undue pressure and change the whole ambience really of what it's like in school, because our high schools are full to bursting, and it must be very, very unpleasant just walking around, actually travelling around a school, even when you've got modern bits, because it's getting congested and difficult for people management. It's just not acceptable. And those car journeys should be a real worry to everybody. You know, the distances that parents are having to travel to get the children to school is just not acceptable anymore. Yeah.
Well, I have two more people who'd like to speak, Barbara and then Terry.
I've got two very short queries. At one time, when I first became a parish councillor, we nearly always had a presence from our county councillor at our parish council meetings. That doesn't seem to happen anymore. Is it something that county councillors prefer to be invited, or is it just that it doesn't happen anymore anywhere, or is it just us? That's my first question. And my second question was, has there been any more update on what was mooted a couple of years ago, that the boundaries were going to be changing across the county, and the possibility of some places across the county moving into different parliamentary boundaries?
One comment I would make is I'm on two parish councils, which are both attended regularly by the county councillors.
You have to say that because she's sat next to you.
Well, one of them is sat next to me, and the other is County Councillor Collins, who virtually always attends Withnell Parish Council.
And Wealton.
And what were you saying, Kim? Do you want to just mention on the...
I think on the boundary changes, there's a report coming out 8th of November, which will give us insight as to whether or not they're going to listen to anything that residents have said. And I think, others might correct me if I'm wrong, but if there are any changes, I think there'll be a further 4-week consultation, and then we'll find out next year what the final outcome is, won't we? Yeah.
Doesn't it still have to have the assent of Parliament at some point?
Yeah, and then I think
Which
it's
might
July.
Which might be a struggle at the minute, in my view.
Yeah, I think it's in July 23 when they're proposing to enact it, but if it happens.
If it ever happens, that's my current thinking.
Terry, go on.
Can I go back to the issue of school places and planning? What the County Council have said for the major planning applications is there are enough schools and you can build at these schools. What they've not taken into account is a lot of the schools are academies, and the heads and the governing bodies make their own decisions about whether you can build on them or not. So when we look at planning policy and we look at educational policy, at the end of the day, there's no joined up thinking by the County Council. Now, I'm speaking as an ex-deputy head. Lancashire have an appalling record of projection of school places. And they don't take into account, you cannot go to an academy and say, take kids. They won't. They don't legally have to.
Thank you for that point.
That on that.
Yeah,
and it's a real problem, and because all the secondary schools in Chorley are academies, and there's an increasing pressure on primary schools to go down an academy route as well. If you're on governing bodies, you'll know a lot of governing bodies have been written to about forced academisation, which a lot of them don't want to do. Again, that's a government policy. It's being rolled out in funny ways in different places by different bodies, such as dioceses and what have you, because they're all reacting differently. So that's something to watch. But the secondary ones, yes, it's very true what Terry said. Most of the schools in Chorley operate at a level and at a size that they're happy doing. So they don't really want to grow massively. So you try to force people who don't want to put extra schools, because it puts pressure on them, as Julia said, crammed buildings, and they haven't got the sports facilities, all the rest of it. So I think, and also there's an issue about sometimes performance of schools. So there was a big issue last year at Albany with people trying to get into Albany and there was a lot of people didn't get that as their choice and then went to appeal, and we were dealing with a lot of that down in East China, weren't we, in that area. But also there was Southlands had issues. Southlands kept an additional role on because they had dual entry classes, etc. But has almost put on notice that they don't want to do that longer term. So that creates another problem. So there's lots of these issues about exactly what Terry's saying, that it's not joined up at all, which is a symptom of a government policy of doing that. That's governments of all shades. So, but that's not helpful. And then, like you said, but what, to be fair, and Julia was being fair before to the current county administration, they are listening more than previous administrations have. What they maybe haven't got is the ability to make the answers that we want to see happen. But that comes back a bit to predicting where population is going to grow, and that's what they are doing quite a lot of work with on this local plan, back to the local plan issue, to try and predict where the growth in young people is going to be, which is also hard to do. And I echo Terry's thoughts on that.
Thank you, Alistair. Thank you, Terry. Moving on, items for future meetings. I think the January one's pretty well booked up if Chorley agrees to come. From previous records with Kim, it can be an hour on its own with the cabinet member for highways. So quite happy if somebody wants one for a future meeting, that's fine. But I think at this stage it's not going to be January. But yeah, we can do the second one of the year. If anybody's got anything that they think needs to be added. Okay with that, and I've just got the one thing under urgent business. Do you want me to do it, Jennifer, or do you want to do it?
Yeah, I'm happy if you want to do it.
We've been made aware that there may be a supply issue with Royal British Legions for poppies that can be fixed onto lampposts. To help with this, the council found a local supplier of poppy signs who were able to create the poppies out of Corex board. If any parishes are interested, please let us know and we can share the details of quote and pricing. There are different options based on different sizes, but based on a poppy that would be roughly 30 centimetres by 30 centimetres and attachable by cable tie, it works out at £125 for a sheet that copies 24 poppies. If any parishes want the details, they can contact Andrew Daniels or go straight to the supplier. We will circulate details after the meeting. And I think all that remains, do we know when the next meeting is, Coral?
Can I just come back on that, Chair?
Certainly, Deborah.
The whole point of creating and selling poppies is to raise money for the RBL. Someone profiteers by making poppies at that amount of money. Where does the money, how does the money get to the Royal British Legion?
Sure, I think you missed a line off the end from what I saw yesterday,
Hope so.
which was we expect parish councils like we would to make a contribution to the Royal British Legion, which is a primary point of poppies.
Excellent.
That was the line that you should have had added on, which I suspect you haven't.
I didn't.
Because,
You're quite right.
as usual in certain organisations, communication breaks down.
Yeah. Also,
Because, just to finish, Deborah,
yeah.
And this was highlighted, I think, by Astley Village Parish Council. They were the ones who highlighted that they'd had a problem because their usual supplier, now, what the cost of large poppies is and what the cost, you know, I don't think poppy signs are doing it at a great profit. I think it's a sheet of Corex board that they'll chop up for us, because we inquired to see if we could help out Astley Village. As part of that, we thought we should offer it to other people as well, because what we're hearing is that whoever normally provides these things is struggling to do it this year for whatever reason. And we also said we'd order a few for our non-parished areas as well at the same time. Again, it's not profiteering. We would expect people to make a donation to the Legion alongside that, because that's what you should be doing it, because when you pay for that. But what, to be fair to Poppy Signs, what they can't do it is do it for nothing. And I think that's what it's costing them for a sheet of Corex board.
That's absolutely fine if the Royal British Legion have been considered. But also, for £9.99 you can buy a juggernaut size poppy from the poppy shop, which is the size that you will put on the front of a juggernaut truck, and the £9.99, so, you know, that's pretty cheap too. And they come from the Royal British Legion shop, which obviously get the donation directly.
No, it's a fair point, Deborah. Yeah, we don't want people profiteering from it. So all that remains, date of the next meeting, Coral.
Yes, Chair. Date of the next meeting is Wednesday, 18th of January, 2023.
In the new year. Thank you for your attendance. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, I think. Sounds a bit early, does that, doesn't it? Thank you.